Can you all see the presentation? Can you all see the presentation?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, madam.
Right, okay. So today is the day school second, right? The second day school. So I think you all have already done HTML, already started the installation of Visual Studio as well. And you have done the Lab 1 exam also. So today what we have to do is the HTML, the extend part, the HTML attributes as well as the CSS part. Right, so we'll start. The first one, it says HTML attributes. So what is HTML attributes? So attributes meaning, what is the purpose of attribute? It's providing some additional information about a particular HTML element. So what is HTML element? The elements are head, body, the HTML tags. The tag name, we call it as the element. So we are giving some additional information for HTML elements.
Recording in progress.
So according to the HTML attributes, what we are doing, always it has to be included within element start tag. That has to be remembered. So when you're giving HTML tags, that is what we call as HTML element. So after the element name, you have to give your attributes. So when you're giving attributes, usually it comes in name as well as a value. Right? So you should give the name and the value. Name meaning, usually it's specifying the property of the element. Property of the element for which additional information is being provided. So usually comes in name and the value. So name, if you say, usually specify the property of the element for which additional information is being provided. Then value meaning you are giving a value, the answer, something like answer for the name you are giving. So as an example, now in here you can see P. P means paragraph. You are going to give a paragraph. So for the paragraph, you are having an attribute called name. And after the name, you are giving the equal sign. Then after the equal sign, you have to give the value. So when you're giving a value, you have to give the value within the double quotes. So after the value, you're closing the tag, and within the starting tag and end tag, you're giving the paragraph. So that's the way you're giving the attributes. Right. Now, the core attributes, the title. So when you say, when you want to give something for title, now in here you have a tag called H1. So you already know H1 is the headings. So you have 6 headings. So in here you have H1 heading. So it's providing a suggested title for an element. So you are going to give a name or title for your element. So when user hovers over the element, it will display as a tooltip. So it will appear at the cursor with the suggested title. So while we are doing the presentation, I'll show you this example as well. Right? So we'll be doing the examples, the HTML examples in Visual Studio Code. So I think I have already installed Right. So all of you installed the Visual Studio Code. Have you all installed?
Yeah.
Because you all have done Lab 1 exam as well. Right. So Visual Studio Code, you have to use for practicals. So in here, you go to new file. In your new file, you can do the coding. So I'm selecting a text file. So this is my text file. So in here, you are giving the HTML. The HTML starting tag. And in here, you can see how to give this. The first example we'll see, it's giving a H1. And you're giving a title for that. So in here, you are giving the element name H1. And then you are saying title. In IntelliSense, it will open. If you are giving the correct way of coding, then it will give you the IntelliSense. Then you close. Then you are giving your heading. Right? So this is the way you are giving the attribute. So how this is working, you have to file and you have to save this. So I have created a folder and I'll be saving inside that folder. I've already created a folder. So we'll say index. Always try to give meaningful names for your web pages. Now you can go to your folder and you can run the page. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
See the output? Can you all see the output?
Yes, madam.
All right. So in here, you can see heading 1. So what is that attribute? When you keep the cursor, now it's displayed like a tooltip box, right? I have given an attribute saying title. So as a tooltip box, it will display the name what I have given, right? Right. So that's the way you are giving the attributes. Now the next one. There's another co-attributes known as style. So used to change the visual presentation of an element. So what is giving? That is the style, meaning you are giving as designing for your web page, right? You can give a designing for your web page. So value string will be include multiple keys. Now when you say style attribute, it's not only one value you are giving, you can give multiple values for style attribute, as well as how to separate these values by using a semicolon. You can separate these values. So see the example, H1 style, H1 style. So if you are giving in your example, this is the title attribute. We'll give another one, H2. Then within the H2, I'll give style. Style. So style is my attribute. And after this attribute, what we should do? We have to give your styles. So you can give multiple values for the style. So we think you want to change the color. So style, you are saying color. You are saying color. So in here, style, you have to say equal, then double quotes, Within the double quotes, you are giving the color. Then you are giving the colon mark and you are selecting a color. Then a separator. Separate is the semicolon. Right? So if you are typing correctly, according to the intelligence, you can identify a background color. Like that, you can give. After that, you can save the document. You go to your web page. And then you have to press F5 to refresh, or you can right. That's also possible. When you right click, it will open the pop-up menu. From that pop-up menu, you can select the refresh. We'll see what is the problem. I didn't give the style. I didn't give the heading. Heading. So we'll say web application development. Web application development. Save this and refresh. See, now what happened? I have given a style for my web page. I have changed the font color. I have changed the font background as well. So that's the way you are using the style attribute. And then the next one. Now in here, you can identify some other properties of style attribute. So not only you can give the color, you can give the background color, you can give the font family, you can give the font size, text align. Throughout the intelligence, you can see what are the other stuff of style attributes available, or what are the values available for style attribute. So when you say background color, I have already used, you can see the answer. The color appear behind the text. If you say font family, that is the font face, the type of the font. And you can change the font size. You can align the text. All these stuff you can do by using the style attribute. And this example, you can identify something called span. What is span? Throughout the span, you can give some style for selected part. For example, so in here, I'll be giving you this. Right, span. Right, span, style. Span, style. Style is the attribute. I have something called color. Color. Then I'm selecting a color. Right? Then where to apply the span? In here, blue. After the span, eyes. We'll say we are giving a paragraph. So you can give the P tag. So if you have any problem, you can ask throughout the chat even. And also it's better if you can do the practical as this time as well, right? And if you're getting problems, you can share the screen and show me and ask the problems what you have even. See, so blue is given within the span tag, within the span tag. So with the span tag, I have given style. So only that part will be giving a style. So not only giving color, you can give any style, what you know, right? Right. So in here, it's giving some example. Can I identify? P1 style, P style, a paragraph. You are giving a style for a paragraph. It says it is an odd number. So already I have shown you example. So I'm not typing this. Okay, style, color white. Then you are giving a background color. And the text what you are applying is to is an equal number. Something like that you can give. Right, next slide. Co-attributes, ID and classes. The other co-attribute is ID and the class. What is this? ID and class. Now, ID used to uniquely identify elements within an HTML document. Then what we're using is ID as well as the class. So what is ID? ID is provide ability to refer to specific element. ID must be unique, right? ID must be unique. So header, footer, you can apply IDs. Then class is provide ability to refer to subgroup of elements, not only for one. You can assign a class for same name for a H1 tag, as well as you can give a same class for some other tag given. So within the class, you'll be applying all the styles. So at once you can apply all the styles for some other tag given. So we'll see an example. See the example which is given in your slide. See. So how to give this? Dot odd. What is it? You are giving classes, right? You are giving classes in your body tag. You have paragraphs, right? You have given P tag. So that means paragraph. So for the paragraph, you have given class. So what is the class of this one? That is odd. So you have two class names, odd and even, right? So you have class odd, class even. Then what you're doing? Then within the head tag, if you want to give styles, you can have style tag within the head tag, right? So within the head tag only you are giving the style tag. So within the style tag, how to use the class? Now class meaning a group, right? So what will happen? How many odd class? The class names odd. We have one, 2, 3. Right? 3 paragraphs are there, which giving the class as odd. So what will happen? All 3 will be changing the color into blue. And there are 3 paragraphs named as even. So even class. So what will happen? The color will become white and the background color will be blue at once. Why? You have given a class. So by using the class name, you'll be applying the style. So within the style tag, starting from dot, you are giving the class name. And then you will be giving all the attributes what you want to apply for this, right? The style attributes allows you to change the appearance of the text within that element. So the class attribute allows you to group elements so that they can easily have the same style applied. Right. Is it applied only for paragraph? No. If you want, you can here, according to this example, is apply class for P tag. But is it for P? No. If you want to apply this odd style for H1, that's also possible. Now you think something like this? So you're giving a class for this. Class equal, then you give the same name out like that. Then for the H1 also I'll be giving. That's also possible. No need to give for same tag. Then within the head tag, to give the style tag. So within the style tag, you're giving your class type. Dot odd. Then curly braces. So within the curly brace, you're giving your style.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Right, can you see the screen?
Yes, madam.
Right. So in here you can see this is the way you are giving the extract. So not only for paragraph, even though I have given in here the class name for H1 also. So in here, H1 also change in the color as well as the background color, not only the paragraph. Right? So that's the way you're giving the attributes. Right, now the next one. Now we'll see how to give the list in HTML. Right? We have two types of list, unordered list as well as the ordered list. So what do you mean by ordered list? Ordered list in the sense you are giving numbers. Unordered list in the sense you are giving bullet sign, right? So we'll see how to give these symbols. I think you have done already OL tag and UL tag, isn't it?
Yes.
I think I have to explain list. You have done, right. So what I have to tell you, how to give the bullet like unordered list using the style, right? Using the style. So how many styles we have? Disk, circle, square, and none. Now already when you are using the HTML even, you have something called type, right? There's something called type. That's a HTML style. But if you're using the style attribute, the style attribute, you can have values like this: disk, circle, square, and none. Right? So what you should do with the style attribute, you have to have a value called list style type. What is it? List style type. So I'll be removing this. I'll remove it. Then an ordered list. Then you're giving list item, li. So this is the unordered list I have created. Then you have to give the style. So where have to give the style? You have to give it within the UL tag. See? So you have circle, decimal, leading zero like that. Several things, several styles are there. So while we're selecting circle, that's it. So that's the way you are giving the style. So you have several styles are there. You can select any style from here. Then you can save and see how the output is displayed. See, banana, apple, mango. So you have given the unordered list. So what you should do, you have to go there and you have to change the list style type. So a lot of values are there. So you can select any one of these. Right. Then the next one, ordered list. So what are the styles that you are giving for ordered list? That is type. So how many types? We'll take the same example with the list, with the ordered list. So in here, you have OL. Then within the OL, you have something called type. So when you say type A, so normally it's giving 1, 2, 3. But if you want to get another style, what you should do, you have to say type. Type equal A. Now see the output. See, banana, apple, mango in letters A. So if you want to get the other styles even, what you should do, you have to change the type. That's it. So in here you can give simple A, right? If you want to give capital Roman, then instead of A, you are giving capital I. Then simple Roman. Like that, you can select. See? Right. So keep it in mind. Unordered list, you have style type. So within the style attribute, you have to give style attribute. Style attribute. But if you want to give the other way, the ordered list, you have attribute called type. So by using that, you can do your styles. You can apply the attributes. Right. So in here, it's explaining the items ordered with the uppercase letters, items ordered with the lowercase or capital Roman or the uppercase Roman, then lowercase Roman, like that you can give. Then the nested list. What is nested list? Nested list meaning a list inside another list, right? Include a list inside another list. So that's what we call as the nested list. So when you're creating a nested list, we'll change the same thing. We'll say this is a nested one. Then you are closing the URL tab. Like that. So it's a nested list. So how to give the nested list? In here you will, so style, you're giving your style type. And I have banana, apple, and mango, right? Then inside the mango, I have another list. And this is a ordered list. And what is the type of it? Capital A, B, C. Like that it will display. You'll see the output. And after this, keep in mind, if it's a inner list, you have to close it first. So this has become inner list and this has become the outer list, right? This one is the inner list. File, save. You go to the page and you can have the sublist. Right, the next one. Okay, now application form, right? Now these type of applications also we have to create in HTML, right? So we should know how to create these things. So in this application form, you can see there's a text boxes for full name, email address, password. We are giving text boxes. These are we called as the text boxes. And date of birth, you are giving a date, right? Then graduation year, you are giving a slider. Then the phone numbers, you are giving a frame, and inside that frame, you are giving a gender in radio buttons, and race, you are giving in check boxes. And you have something called favorite color. It's a color picker. So you have to know how to give the color picker. And resume submission, that means how to give a button to select a file from your computer and how to give the submit and reset button. So now we'll see how to create this button. So only design. Keep it in mind, when you click on the submit button, nothing is happen. When you click on the reset button, nothing will happen, right? Why? We are not writing those coding. What you are doing in the subject or what you are doing in here, only the designing part, right? So we'll see how to create this type of application form. So this is what we call as the form, right? So we'll see the first part, how to create this one. So you have an element called form. Right. So shall we remove these things? Otherwise, it's too much of lines. So I'll be removing this. Then I'll give the form type. So next year you will be learning how to how to work with this form. When you click on a button, what will happen? How to connect with the website or how to save this in computer. Like that you'll be learning in the next semester. So in here you'll be learning how to design. So you'll be reading the form, right? And then what you should do? See this. Now what I want to do? I want to create a text box to give the full name, and I want to create an email text box to give the email address. A small thing, right? We'll take this one, the full name and the address and the password. So what you should do? You have attribute called type. What is the element name? Input, right? All these things comes under input tag. Input tag. So these are everything we are giving using the input tag. And what's the difference? How we identify? Only change in the attribute. If it's a radio button, the type has to be radio. If it's a text box, type has to be text. If it's a checkbox, then the type has to be checkbox. Like that, we are changing. So we will see the first one. In here, you are telling input. Before that, you have to give the name, the full name. No, it's giving full name. Yes, full name. So in here you are giving full name, full name. Then input, type, input, type, equal, text. So that's where you are giving a text box. And you should give a name. Why? When you are writing the coding for the form, you should have a name to get that particular text box. There has to be a unique identification for your text boxes. So there has to be a name. So name also I'll be telling you. Full name. Right? Don't give spaces. If you want to leave some space, then you can say underscore. That's it. Right? Without giving spaces. Right? Input type text and the name. Then in closing, input type. Right? So in here also you can identify how you are giving that. And also keep it in mind for the input tag. Now some tags are there already, closing tags are not available. So input type text, name, and the full name. Then be closed by saving. Don't close it, just save. Then you can refresh. See, full name and the text box, right? And now in here it says, already you know that now. So I'm not explaining that. Now in here, in application form, a heading. So what you can do? You can give a H1. You can give H1 and say application form. Otherwise, you know already the font tag. So by using the font tag, you can apply the colors. You can change the font size, font style, right? Those things you can do. So I'll be just giving the full name and then the email address. So we'll quickly do that. Second one is the email address. So after this, if I'm giving like this, what you should do, you have to give DR. Why DR? Otherwise, it's not moving to the next line, right? We have to move this to the next line. So line break should give full name, email. Email. Then input, type. When you are giving an email, you have type called email. Then the name equal, that's also I'm guessing yes, email, then easy to identify. Right. So we directly give all the items and save it and see. Then the password. How to give the password? Then BR, password, input, type, password. Name equal password. Then you're giving another BR, BR, Right, so password. And after the password, what we have is the date. It says of birth. Date of birth. Then input type equal date. Then name, date. Right. Now we'll save this.
Progress.
Right. So in here, date name, and then save. Refresh. See, you have given the full name, email. So these are text boxes. You can type. So in here, you can apply the email addresses. See the password. When you say password, the type is password, but the in the text box. The password that you are typing is not displayed. It displayed in undefined characters by using symbols. So this is giving a date time picker, right? So up to now, any problem you have? Up to now, any problem? The presentation is available in your site, right? In your LMS, isn't it? See the second week, can you see the LMS? Can you see the LMS?
Yes, ma'am.
The presentation is there. I think Ishan is asking, right? In your LMS, you have the presentation. Okay, see, DS2 presentation slides. Okay.
There is only one presentation, but I think Madam have two presentations.
You have only one presentation in the sense only this one. Now this is only one presentation, I mean. Are you mean this one?
Yes, Madam.
It's also there. See? In
Okay, Madam. Thank you.
So today we are doing three presentations, right? The cloud computing, introduction to networking, and HTML and CSS. All three is in your LMS. Don't worry about that. Okay?
Okay, Madam. Sorry to disturb. Thank you, Madam.
It's okay. If you have any problem, you can ask. No worries. Right. Now, once again, we comes to this. Now we have done half of our form. Now see the next one. Now where coding is there, you can see. Slider. Slider. Now how to get the slider? The graduation year. It says the slider. So we have a type called range. What is it? Type called range. And in here, you have to give the size of that. Minimum, you can just give a size, 1950. And maximum, it says 20 like in here, like the year. So in here, 1950 to 2020. So you can select how to give the graduation year. The year range you have to give. Okay. So that's the mean of min and max, not the size. Min and max is the year range, right? So in here, you have to give BR, then graduation year, and after that, you're giving input, type, equal, range. Then you're giving name, equal, graduation year, or graduation, just that's also enough. Just identification, graduation, then min, equal, 1960, and max equal like that. 2023. Save. And we'll go to the page. See the graduation year. Right. So like that, you can give the graduation year. It's a slider. Right.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you.
Yes.
Under the input type password, is there any way to make the password visible if you want it to be visible?
A password to be visible in the sense, then you have to use a text box. Right? Now, if you want to give like additional stuff, then you should know something called JavaScript.
That's mean the
Enable
eye icon.
Sorry?
When sometimes when we enter the password, there's a icon like a eye.
Eye icon. So yes, that will be yes, that will be not done in HTML. You can't do it in here.
Okay, madam. Thank you very much.
That is according to with the PHP bundle. In there, you have facility.
Yeah. Okay, madam.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay, right. So someone is asking like the checkboxes in order. Yes, you can. You know the tables. You have done tables, right? You have done tables, okay? The HTML, how to create the tables. Have you done that? No one is answering. The tables, you have to use the table. Then you can do it in neat way. Now in this, without using the tables, you cannot do it, right? With the use of tables, you can arrange it nicely. If you want it, I'll show you. I think you know how to give the tables, right? So I'm not explaining tables now. So I'll just give in table. Table, border, equal, we'll say 3. Then I'm giving TR, table row. Inside the table row, I'll be giving full name. Right? Within the table row, you have to give the full name as well as the text box. That's it, what we have to do. No need the BR tag. It's better if you tell me like whether you have done the tables or not. In HTML, it's already, you have. So in here, you have table data, TD. In one table cell, you are giving the full name. And in the other one, you are giving the input type. like this. Then this one also you are putting within the PR tag. Now in here, closing the TD. Right? Then this also you are giving another TD. Right. So if I show you up to this, you can identify now it's arranged nicely. File, save. See, full name, email. If you don't want to give the borders, what we can do? Remove the border. There are some additional angle brackets somewhere. Now here. Now in here, we say no border. I don't want to give a border. So without giving a border, I can give. Then only the arrangement. So we'll quickly give this for this also in a table. PD. Then this is the second table cell. Then from here, it's closing the third row. Then starting a new row, TR. So within that date of birth, it's in a new table cell. So TD. And then close TD. Then this one also in a new TD. That row also finished. Then new TR, new TE, then this also new TR, sorry, TD, Right. Now we can close the table. Within that, you can give all your table details. We'll save this. See, now how was the form? It's neatly arranged the things. But it's not display the table even, but it's arranged nicely. Why is that? That is because of the table. Right? So by using a table, you can arrange like this. Okay? Right. Right now we'll go to the other part, that is for check boxes and radio buttons. See, gender. So gender, you are giving the male, female, right? That may be giving in here. So how to give this? If you are continuing with the table, then new TR, then new TD. Within the TD, you are giving gender. Then TD. Within this, you are giving input. And what is input type? Input type is radio. And you have to give a name. Name, it has to be a collection, not only one. It's having a collection of radio buttons. So you can say gender option. Gender option. And in here you can identify, see, name, gender option. And there has to be 3 values. The values are different. So you are having a new attribute called with the radio value. So in here you have to give the value. So after the gender option, the name, you have to say value equal name. Right? So in here you are giving now male. Right? Male. Now see how it's displayed. See, right? So if you want to give it in the same place, now in here, it will give in the same place, the male, female, undisclosed. So same place you can apply within the same TD or, 2 different TDs you can give, right? So within the same row, you are going to a new TD. New TD. Input. Type. Equal. Radio. Name. Gender option. Name has to be same. Only the value is changing. Value has to be female. female. Then other TD, input, type, input type, radio, name equal, gender option, then value equal, undisclosed. Right. So that is about the radio button. See, right? Now, if you arrange this, now in male, female, you can arrange this, then it will be comes to here. Like alignment, you can change. You can say center or right align like that. Then you can display it nicely. Right. Now the next one. After the gender, the radio buttons, now you have next one. Check boxes. We have check boxes. In check boxes also, it's also collection of values. So what you should do, name race is the name, but the values are different. Values can be different. So in here, you are giving the DR. TR, then TD, then within the TD, it says race. And how it will display, we'll see. It display one by one, no? Yeah, and without giving a table, I'll just give this, huh? Otherwise, you can give two different rows. Hmm? You can do something like this. I'm not just explaining about the tables much, you already know. So just identify how I have arranged. What I want to do is, I want to tell you how to give these forms, how to create these different kind of types. So TD race, then TD, you are giving the first one as African American, right? African American. So type equal checkbox. Checkbox. Name equal race. Valid equal is give some short name. Valid. Then we are giving another TD. input. We'll just copy this. Huh? But when you're doing for the first time, don't copy. Right? One by one, you have to try. Okay? Then only you will be remembering. So you have to do one by one without copying. Right. So 3 cells I have given. Then I'll be giving the other stuff in the next row. Then I'll be leaving the first TD blank. Nothing is displayed. Then in the second one, I'm giving. Next one is the American Indian. American Indian. Then next one is Pacific Island. Like that. Then the last one, other. See, so that's the way you're giving the check boxes. Right. Any problem up to now? If you have any problem, put it to the chat even. Any problem? Now you know how to give text boxes, then password, then date and time picker, then the year picker, check boxes, and radio button. Any other? Right, okay, no problem. Right, we'll continue. Then the next one. Now we comes to the favorite color. Favorite color, the color picker. So how to give the color picker? You have input called color, right? A type called color. Favorite color. Can you see that? new TR, color, then name equal color, and before that you have to say my favorite color. So another TD. My favorite color. Right, so this is the way you are giving the color picker. See, you can select colors from here, the color picker. Right. Then the next one. Now we'll see how to select files, how to upload or how to select. Not only upload, right? Later on only you are seeing how to upload it. In here, just to select a file. Just to select a file. So it says resume submission and you have the choose file. So in here, what is the coding you are giving? What is the input type? You have something called file. What is it? File. So resume submission. New TR. New TD. Resume submission. Resume submission. A new TD. Input. Type. Equal 5. Name equal resume. That's it. File, save, you go to your page, refresh. Right. Now when you click on the choose file, see, now you can upload some file for this. Right. Now the last part, how to give resubmit button or the reset button. Yes, submit button and the reset button. So how to give the submit and reset? So you have separate types called submit and reset. Right. So how to display the buttons? You should have a new TR, new TD, a TD. Within the TD, you can say submit. You can have a button. Input, type, equal, submit. Name equal, submit. Another TD. Input. Type. Equal, reset. Name equal, reset. Okay, finish. Now this is the way you're creating your form. Now the form heading also will give. Then it's complete, right? What it says, application form, no? Application form. We'll give that also. The application form. So in here, after the body tag, H1, application form, right? Save. Refresh. See, now this is our application form is finished. Any problem from this? Any problem up to now? Now we'll be moving to CSS. We have to move to CSS. So before that, any problem? Right, okay. Now see, these are the input types available. See, now I told you something called reset and submit. Now that is predefined buttons. But if you want to some other button, then you have something called type call button. You can get a type call button. So any clickable button you can apply using the type button. Check boxes. To get a color picker, you have the color. Then to get a date picker, you have the date input type. Then email address field, the email. When you want to select a file, you have the file. If you want to have some hidden input field, then you have something called hidden. And image is allowing you to allow them images, right? Then month, time. So lot of input types are there. But the way of using it, not much different. You have to use the input tag. Inside the input tag, you have an attribute called type. So the type value has to be either one or this, right? Right. Now, a new one. Introduction to CSS. Right. Introduction to CSS. Now, CSS meaning cascading style sheet. Cascading style sheet. What type of it? It's a simple design language intended to simplify the process of making web pages presentable. If you want to create a nice website, if you want to create a beautiful one, right, with some lot of styles, then you should know about CSS. See this diagram? See, if you're using only the HTML, it's like a structural layer. See, it's only display the bones. But if you're compatible or if you're using CSS with HTML, now how was it? And there was a look, there was appearance, that's a presentation layer. So without knowing only the HTML, you cannot create a fully designing website. Okay? You have to know about CSS also. Then only your website will be more attractive. Right? So CSS has the look and feel part of a web page. Right? That is the one giving some look for your website. So using CSS, you can control the color of the text. You can control the color of the text. You can change the style of the fonts. You can give spacing between paragraphs. You can resize the column size. You can change the background images. You can give different background images. You can give different background colors. You can give different layouts. Right? So different kind of designs, some styles you can apply for your website using CSS. So keep it in mind. With only HTML, it's giving just like this, only the structural layer. But if you connect with the CSS, then this is the presentation layer you will be looking at, right? So we'll be doing the HTML5, right? So that is the HTML hypertext markup language. And with HTML, you have the CSS, right? So that is the modifiers. Design and display of HTML element. That is the CSS. But HTML is what we do. Only the content and structure of the web page will be given by the HTML, right? So when you want to give a design, right, for your HTML element, then you must use CSS, cascading style sheet. So by connecting this HTML and CSS only, you will be getting a complete web page interface, right? So both has to be connected. Then only you can create a complete web page interface. But is it fully functioning website? No, only the designing, HTML plus CSS, only the design, right? If you want to create a fully functional website, then you should know programming languages like web languages are there. Okay. How to add separations? What do you mean by add separations? Add separations. Someone is asking, I think Naja Moment, how to add separations. What do you mean by add separations? Right, put it to the chat. What do you mean by separations?
In the form, there was some separations. This thing.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
In your form. See, there are separations around the.
This one. You mean the group?
Yes.
Frames. That's what we call as a frames. We have a type called frames. We have to give that. It's not in here. I didn't give that. I'll show you.
Okay.
Just give me a minute. For that one, you have to give the field set, right? Now, someone has given actually the field set. I'll show you the screen. Now you can see my screen. Just give me a minute. My machine is right now. Okay. Okay. So in here, we have to give after the application, the graduation year, the gender part. This one. What is given the name? Demographics. Demographics. Right, I didn't give the correct place. So in here, demographics, inside that, you have to give the your place. Now in here, this one have to be given. Within this, you have to apply this one. Okay. I'll just give an example for that. Okay. Not now, I'll give some examples for the chat. Right. Later on, I'll just give. Right. Or otherwise, next week you'll be getting Teams. No, otherwise I'll be putting to the forum or somewhere. I'll give you how to give that. Okay. Right. We'll go to the CSS. We have limited time. Okay. We have a lot to do today. Okay. Right. So CSS. What is CSS? The cascading style sheet, as I told you. A formatting language used to describe the appearance. It's used to describe the appearance of your content in an HTML file. So the CSS was standardized as well as specification defined by the World Wide Web Consortium. And why we use this CSS? Right? The HTML, the content. What information does the page contain? That is telling about with HTML. What is in the heading? What is in the body? How is the information structured? All these are telling throughout the HTML, or that is the content. CSS, that is a presentation. What does the page look like? What is the color? What is the formatting? What is the text size? What is the text color? What is the background image? What is the background color? Like that, different design, how it's presenting the content. That's what explaining throughout the CSS. So how does CSS work? The web browser receives the HTML page from the server via HTTP. The HTML page can include CSS, either in same file or with link to separate file. So if it's a separate file, the web browser will request that file separately via HTTP. Is it clear? The web browser receiving what? HTML page, right? Throughout the HTTP, that is a protocol. So from the server, it's giving the HTML page. So HTML page can include the CSS or the links for a style sheet, right? So how does it work? So when all HTML and CSS files are available, then browser, what is doing? It will render the page. So for each element in the HTML page, the web browser will display the content. And the CSS file is giving the style to present those content. So ideally, exactly one set of CSS styles will apply to any given element. That's also keep it in mind. So if there are conflicting styles defined, complex rules determine which gets applied, right? So there are some complex rules are there. According to that, it will apply what is the style to be given. So how do we use CSS? There are three ways of creating CSS. One is inline, then the other one is internal, third one is external. So here and there within the HTML up to now, we have learned how to work with the styles inline as well as internal without knowing, right? But now we'll see what is actually inline, what is internal, what is external. Inline meaning you're using a tag. What is that tag? Style. We have used, right? So style tag. So style tag is using the style attribute. So use a tag style attribute to specify appearance. That is one way of giving the styles, cascading style sheets. The other one is internal. Internally, in the sense, you remember within the head tag, we have given a tag called style, right? Within the head, we have given a separate tag called style. So in there, you are giving all the styles. And what do you mean by external? You are creating a separate file called CSS, .css file. Then we'll be calling that CSS file within our HTML page. Now we'll see one by one. So already I have done this. You remember H1, then style you're giving as inline within the tag after the element name as an attribute, you're giving this. So style, so this is what we called as inline. So with the time being, I have some sample CSS examples are there. So I'll just copy, okay? Without directly typing, I'll just copy. With the time being, we have to copy and paste, okay? Right, not this one. So already you have learned styles. Inline one, we already know. So I'm not explaining again. So H1 with the element name, after the element name as an attribute, you are giving the style, and now you know how to give the style values. So two different values you can give by using the separator semicolon. This CSS as style attribute. What are the advantages? Easy to use. You can easily use it. And good for quick. You can easily use it as well as quickly. You can use it in there itself. But there are some disadvantages. You are mixing the content as well as the presentation. So that should be avoided. Otherwise, when you come to the maintenance, it's becoming problems. And it's hard to manage. It's becoming complex of pages. So when you come to the maintenance, it's becoming a lot of problems. That's the disadvantages in here. Then internal one, as I told you, within the head tag, you're giving the style tag. As a separate tag, you have giving attributes. So style. So within the style, you're giving your styles. What you should do, you have to give the element name. So H1, that is my element name, heading 1. And curly braces, we have done in previously, I showed you. So I'm not typing again. So in here, within the curly braces, you're giving what are the styles to be giving. So color, red. Text transform, capitalize. And then you will be closing the styles. That's the way. Right? And within the body tag, what you will be doing? Within the body tag, you'll be giving your coding. See? This is H1. So for the H1, what will happen? It's giving the color as well as it giving the text transformation. It's capitalized. So this is what we called as the internal CSS. Internal CSS. Now the next one. Right. CSS syntax. We have something called selector. So selector. So in here, selector meaning H1. In here, within the style tag, you are giving a selector or a tag name, only the tag name. You don't want to use angle brackets, only the tag name, right? H1. We call it as selector. And after the selector, you are giving curly braces. And within the curly braces, you have to give the property as well as the value, right? So that's the way. And when you come to this, what are the advantages? Separates content and presentation. So it's easy. It's different. Easy to use. In particular, if you want to apply the same style to all the tags of a certain type, what you can say, it is easier to do it with internal CSS than inline CSS. You think you want to apply a same style for different tags for all the tags, then it's easier of using internal CSS than inline CSS. And good if you only have a limited amount of CSS in a page. If you're not using too much of CSS styles, then it's good to have internal CSS. And what are the disadvantages? Still, we have the complex, becoming complex pages. And it's managed for large complex pages. So maintenance are difficult. Cannot reuse. We cannot reuse. But when you come to the external sheet, what is happening? You have a separate one. So maintenance are easier. You can see all the styles, but you have applied separately, right? And also you can reuse the style sheet. So a lot of the advantages are there. So this is an example of styles. I'll just copy it. Right. So you can just see that actually it's taking too much of time to do. When you copying, you have to remove the spaces. Yeah, that's also, yes, that's also good. That is easier. Right. So already you know, I have explained you how to give this. So in here, within the style tag, you are giving this selector, H1. So for the heading, what you are giving? You are giving a color red. That is for the text. Then margin is giving 80 pixels. Then background color, you are giving a color called linen. Right? So within the style tag, you will be applying this. Right? So this is the style tag. And then after closing the head tag, what will be doing? You will be giving the content. So content is different, right? And your HTML content will be different. So this is your HTML content. The styles what you are giving in here is applied to here. And the body, the background color also you will be changing. So this is what we called as the internal styles. And now when you come to the exercise, see, create a page with display the Open University of Sri Lanka. Then you have to give the color orange, margin left, font size 45. So you can try out this. Now itself you can try out this, right? So what you should do? You should have a heading. You have to have a heading called the Open University of Sri Lanka, right? If you want, you can just keep it, or otherwise this one. So what is telling in here? You have to change the color, margin left, and the font size. See, margin left, we'll keep this one. The color is orange. Color is orange. Then what else it have? Font size. So you can have the font size also. So like that, you can give the font sizes. And this is the style. So then in here, you have the head tag. This is the way you are doing your here you are giving the style. Now it has to be above, right? Above the form, but I have just given. So here you have the heading one. H1 is there. So we select this. So like that you can keep. Sorry? Oh, yes, semicolon. Right. Closing tags on, yeah. Yes. Right. When you copying, those things are happening. It's easier to type like newly. That is the easiest way. Right, but now you clear about this now? I'll show you this example. I have already typed things. So you can see that one also. See, the selectors example is here. Right, the HTML head, title is select example. The font size you are giving PX, right? Like that. And in here you will be explaining dot P1. This is the way you are giving ID. And this is the way you are giving class. Sorry, this is the class and this is the ID. Hash is giving in ID and this is for class. We'll take that example. In here, when I'm copying, some things are missing, right? Otherwise it will work, okay? Yes. What the code? Yes. No. Within the form only, no, you have created the table. That is in here. Yes. Right. Okay. So in here, you are giving the body and the H1. Right. Right. Now we'll see. We'll go to the presentation. In the presentation, now we have something called this, the external one. In external one, what we should do, you have to give a separate CSS file. So when you're giving a separate CSS file, in here, you can see separate CSS file is there, okay? And you have the link. See, link rel. So you have the link rel. So style sheet is there, right? The style sheet. Then you have the type CSS, and you have to say href. You remember when you have done anchor tag, you have href, hyperlink, refer. So in here, you have a separate tag called link, and 3 attributes are containing in there. Rel means what you refer, like style sheets. And what type of file? It's a CSS text file. And you have to give in href what is the name of your CSS file. So this will be typed in your HTML page, right? This will be typed in your HTML page. And this is the CSS file, right? This one saved as movies.html, that is the HTML page. And this is the CSS file. It's saved as movie styles CSS. So in here, you have the class selector, and within the selector, you are giving all the styles that you want to apply. Okay, so all the styles, they are should give in the CSS file. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? The advantages separates content and presentation. It separates content and presentation and can include many different CSS pages with multiple link tags. That's also possible. In here, you can have multiple link tags and you can reuse or you can use more than one CSS file within your HTML page, right? What is the disadvantage in here? lots of different files to manage. That's the other problem. If you're using two different CSS files, then it's becoming a problem to manage, right? So these are the CSS selectors, sub-selectors. There are mainly three. One is element selector. Element selector in the sense with the H1, with your element or the tag name, you are giving the styles. And the second one is class selector. So when you're using the class selector, when you're defining your elements, you have to give the class name, and the class name has to be given in here. With the dot, you have to give the class name. And the other selector is ID selector. So in your HTML page, you have to give the ID like this, PID, and this is the ID name, section 1. And when you're calling it in the CSS file with the hash, you have to call the ID name. That is the way. So we'll see an example. So this is the CSS element selector or the type selector. So in here you have the P and you are giving this is the element selector. No problem in that. Already we know. And when we come to the class ID selector, still we didn't do, right? See this. We comes to here. And we select this. Right. Now see this one. What I have done. HTML, head, title. Now select as example. Right. Now we'll see first of all the HTML one. Our content. On our body, what we have? We have heading 2 style, heading 2, element selector. And we have a paragraph, Peter. And we have another heading 2, H2. It says ID selector. And we have another paragraph. And we have name for these things. What? P is having a name, ID. What is ID? P2. So what we'll be doing? Now we have to give what is you're giving, what are the styles you'll be applying for ID name P2. So how to do that? This is one paragraph and this is the second paragraph. So the first paragraph, I didn't give any ID. Now, ID or the class will be giving to uniquely identify the class. So second paragraph having an ID called P2. So we go to the style and see, P2. See, now this is P. No ID, no class, it's just the P. So you are giving style. And this is the way you are using ID. When you are applying styles with using of ID name, you have to say hash P2, right? So in here, P2 is the name. So in here, with the hash, we have to give our ID name. And after that, H2 class select. Now we have another 2 paragraphs saying P, right? And it's a class. The first one also named as P1, second one also named as P1. Doesn't matter, it's a group. No? It's a group. So there are 2 paragraphs naming as P1. And what are the styles? In your style sheet, you are giving dot P1. That is our class name. That is our class name P1. So when you're giving styles with the class name, you have to give dot P1. You have to give dot P1, and within the curly braces, you'll be giving styles, right? So that's the way you are using the IDs and the class. Then we have something called universal selector. What do you mean by the universal selector? Universal in the sense, anywhere you can use. Universal in the sense, anywhere you can use. Anywhere you can use. Select all the elements, right? You want to give some styles for all of the elements, then we have to go for universal select. So this is the way you are giving the universal selector, right? For example, if you want every element to have a center text align and blue text color, we would use the following CSS rule. Within the curly brace, right? After the dot, you have to give, within the curly brace, you have to give your style, right? Now keep it in mind. Either you are giving element name, or if it's an ID, with the hash, you have to give the ID name. If it's a class selector, then with the dot, you have to give the name. And if it's a universal selector, you have to nothing to give, only the dot, right? So that's the way you are giving the universal selector. So what are the basic properties of CSS? We have basic properties. So basic process of forming the rules have been discussed in the previous sections. Already we have learned what are the types of CSS available and what are the types of selectors available. Already we know. However, when you're defining large number of properties and they are values, some of the basic properties are these things: background, text, border, margin, and padding, the tables, height and width, fonts, link, list. Those are the basic properties of CSS. And other than that, when you're giving colors, there are different color schemes out there. In HTML, we have learned that RGB color scheme, then you have hexadecimal color scheme, RGB, right? So CSS color, the RGB. What is RGB? You have 3 parameters. What are those 3 parameters? Red, green, and blue. So within bracket, you have to give a value for R. You have to give value for G. You have to give value for B. And it's starting from 0 to 255. Minimum value is 0 and maximum value is 255, right? Then hexadecimal value, we are giving a hash. With the hash, all are representing in hexadecimal. So when you come to the hexadecimal, that means what are the minimum value? 0. What is the maximum value? F, right? So you will be giving double values. Single set value can vary from 0 to 9 as well as up to A to F. Why? 16 values, 0 to 9 and A to F, right? So in here, what we have, this is for red and this is for green, RGB, this is for blue, right? So this is red color, okay? So like that, you can give the hexadecimal value. And what is RGB? This taking 4 parameters. What is it? You have red, green, and blue. Other than that, you have another one called, another parameter called alpha. Alpha. So values for the first 3 parameters may vary from 0 to 255. And the last parameter, it's a type of color, right? So alpha, the way of mixing, right? So the parameter ranges from 0 to 1, 0.1, 0.2, like that. So you have to give what is the RGBA when you're defining the colors. And when you say CSS background, how to give the CSS background? There are different ways by which CSS can have an effect on HTML elements, right? CSS background. There are different ways by which CSS can have an HTML element. So what are those things? You can have borders. So when you're giving borders, these are the properties available. You can give width, you can give the style, you can give the color, you can give the radius. That is for borders, right? So when you come to the style sheet, you have to say border. And when you comes to here, you have to say border. See, border bottom, border color, border top, border left. So this is the way. This is the way you're giving the style, right? So in here you have the border width, border style, border top. That's the way you're changing the border. And when you say the other one, CSS box model, what is that? Every element in CSS can be represented using a box model, right? The box model. So in box model, you have the content edge, padding edge, you have the border edge, you have the margin edge. All these things you can give in your HTML. Sorry, CSS, right? That is the box model. And when you come to the opacity, what do you mean by the opacity? Opacity in the sense, what lacking transparency, right? Opposite word of the transparency. So CSS opacity is the quality of lacking transparency or translucent. Sorry. So the value of opacity lies between 0 and 1. So the level 0 meaning, that means completely transparent, right? If you are giving 50, that means opacity is 1. So it's a normal image, or you can have transparent image, right? So that's the way you'll be getting. So you will be getting a normal image, or when you're changing the opacity, you will be getting a transparent image. So that's what we called as the opacity. So when you come to the background properties, this is the example. See, background image, background color, background repeat. You don't want to repeat the image. If it's a small image, what will happening? It will remain repeat. But if you don't want to repeat, you can say no repeat. And the position. Then P, the font size. The paragraph, you're giving a font size. So this is the way you're giving the background styles. Background styles. Then what are the properties for text? See, text decoration, text aligning, letter spacing, word spacing, right? Now you can see all the references. You know, the W3 school website, you can go for W3 school website and you can have all the CSS references in there. So you can easily try out how to do these things. Please again CSS class and the ID method. Okay, I'll show you. Once again, see this. Right. Now, first of all, we come to the HTML1. Now in HTML, you have a head to element selector. Then you have a P tag. Then you have a H2, another tag. And you have P. Then you have another H2. Then P paragraphs, right? Now in here, you're giving an ID. Why you are giving ID or a class? Uniquely identified. Or when you're giving a paragraph, now simply we can say like that. Now when you have paragraph, you have too many paragraphs. You think you have given 5 paragraphs. So when you come to the styles, if you are using the element selector, if you are using this, what will happen? All your paragraphs, the font size is 25. The font size is 25. Now you think you want to give different styles for your paragraph. Then you have to use either class or either ID. So ID is giving like this. See, now for the P, what I'm giving? I'm giving ID. What is my ID name? P2. And come to the styles. See, P2. I'm calling the ID. So when you call in the ID, you have to start it with a hash. And what are the things I'll be applying? What are the styles? What are the styles I have given? I have given border. I have given border solid. And I have given the font size. I have given the color. I have given the text align. All these things apply only for what? Only for the paragraph which named as P2. Is it clear? Only apply for this paragraph, not for others. Then you have a class called P1. 2 paragraphs given as P1. Now what will happen? When you call in the class with the dot, you have to use. See, dot P1. Our class name is P1. And the class which is given as P1, what will happen? Border will be 2 and it's having a color blue and that is a solid border. Font size is 25. Color is black. Text align center. Right? That is apply for the paragraph which is named as P1. Now is it clear? Now is it clear? Just answer with the chat. Right, okay. Right. Quickly come to the examples. Right, text properties. Then the next one. See, different table properties. See, how to give for the table properties. You have the font size, say border collapse. Then you are giving for the table even the border, right? The 1 pixels, solid and color is black, H2, text lines are changing, right? So this is the way you're giving for table. You have the table, when you're giving something for the TH, then you have to say TH. When you're giving something for table TD, table data, then you have to give TD. See, this is the way. And then you're defining what are the styles to be applied. That is the way. And the next one, box model. See, CSS box model. What is it? See, I have a div. Already you know in HTML you have learned div. It's something like spam, right? Div. So I have a division, div. This CSS box model contains border, margin, color, padding, properties of CSS. So it's having a box. That box having a margin, having a background color, having a border, and having a padding. It's just a box, right? A box model with text, box model. And this is for the opacity example. The opacity, see, the opacity. Opacity 0.5, right? And you are giving some alpha. You can see these references. No worry about that. You can see the references, CSS references by searching in internet. Then you can do the changes. Okay? Then vertical navigation bar. We'll see what is navigation bar. Now, this is a navigation bar. This is a vertical navigation bar and this is a horizontal navigation bar. This is a vertical one. So how we arranging our links? That is a navigation bar. How we arranging our links? So to do that, this is the coding you have to use. See? Now it's like a list. So you're creating list. You're creating list. See, only the style sheet I have given. So in here UL, you have list style type, the margin 0, padding 0. Then you are giving a border color, border size, right? Then the thickness of the border, width of the border, right? Width of the UL, the background color, all these things apply to the UL tag. And you have another element selector, LI, for the items what you're giving. You aligning it center, you are giving a border bottom. And you're having LIA. What is that? That's a separate one. A set style for list while hovering, active. List aim, LIA in the sense active. So display black, the color is this, padding is this, text decoration is this, like that. Okay. So like that, you have separate way of giving it. Then if you have no borders, the last child, the border bottom, LI, last child, border bottom. And when it's active, what is the color? What is the background color you are giving? Right? So like that, these are the styles available. Okay. And this is the vertical one. Now this is the way you are giving the styles. So this is the vertical one. You have href. See, 4 hyperlinks are there. Active. The class name is active. So that's why in here you have active. See, now I told you, you can just say dot active or hash active when it's ID. Otherwise, you can give it with the element name also. In here, it's used with the element name. See, a dot active, like that. A href. So a dot active. A in the sense anchor. A href class is active. A href about us page, right? So in here, for the home only you are giving the active name. Other things you are saying A. And these are standards. Who are not, right? These are standards. Active, last child, these are standards. Not I have created, those are standards. Then the horizontal navigation bar also like that. This is the HTML page, right? Same thing, right? Same thing. In here, the way of displaying is different. List is float, left. So that's the way you're changing the navigation, either horizontal or vertical. The way of floating, how the list is floating. It says left. That's the way, right? When it's a drop-down menu, you know what is drop-down. So when it's a drop-down menu, what will happen? Drop-down. Say, I have a button, I have a div tag, I have a button tag, right? And I have another div tag. So in the div, I have a class called drop-down. And button also having a class called drop DTA. Another class name drop-down content. And you have 3 menus, right? So when you comes to here, see, in your styles, you have dot drop BTA. That is the class name of button. And these are the styles of drop-down button. The cursor, what is the border, font size, those are given, right? And what is the way of drop-down content class and drop-down class. So like that, separately giving the styles. Now you know the concept. So that's why I'm just explaining you, because you know how to give the CSS styles. That's why I'm just explaining. So then you will be clear what will be happening in here. Do practicals. That's the thing. You have to do your own because your lab 2 test is based on HTML and CSS. And we have something called tooltip. What is tooltip? When you keep the cursor, it will display in yellow color box. That's what we call as the tooltip, right? So when you want to give a tooltip, what you should do? See, CSS tooltip. And you have a div tooltip. We have create span, right? I have explained you span, right? For the span, you have a class tooltip text, right? And these are the styles you'll be using for ID as well as for your class. See, tooltip class. So these are the style properties for tooltip. And this is the way they display the text in tooltip. Okay. Right. Now, how to use the images? Now, when you're using the images, what you should do? In here, you have the HTML page. See the HTML page? You have a division, right? And the class name is gallery. You have an anchor tag. You have an image, right? It's an image hyperlink. It's an image hyperlink. Instead of table, to section your page, you are using the div tag. That's why we are using the div. And you have something called gallery, another class name gallery for another division. And anchor tag is there, image is there. Another one called the DESC, right? Another one called gallery, right? Then image is there. So like that, you have different class names are given. And same class names also there. Now how to work with it? How to give the styles? See, styling div that contains gallery. You have given a class name called gallery. So you can say div.gallery even. So div.gallery. And these are the styles you are giving for gallery class. And these are for border color changes while moving over gallery, right? Keep it in mind. And how to change the width and height of the image in the gallery, div.gallery. Then how to change a name called DSC, the description. How to change or how to give the styles for description of image. So that's the styles giving. Then the last one, how to give the attribute selector. So in here you can see you have a target, the background color yellow. So in here, that is the way you are selecting the attribute selector. Okay, the google.com, the target is there. This is the way you are giving the anchor tags. Right, so that is about the examples. When we come to the last part, now these things, CASS. What is CASS? That is the improvement tool of CSS. So what you should do, this is the improvement, the pre-process of CSS. We have SASS. So why we use it? Because CSS has some issues. To solve those issues, we have introduced something called SASS, right? And when you come to the another one called SCSS, so that is providing the CSS friendly syntax and closing the gap between your CASS and CSS. That's what we call as SCSS, right? So what is the advantage? It's fully compatible and you can rename a CSS file as .scss extension. And CSS make it very easy to learn as well as work, right? So due to that reason that it follows the syntax of CSS, right? And since there are some drawbacks of SASS, then SCSS was introduced. So in SCSS, you cannot copy the CSS directly into SCSS. So as you need to modify it, but in SCSS, you directly copy and paste the codes. So these are the changes in here, right? But what you should do, we'll be telling you, we'll be requesting you all to study SCSS and SASS by their own. That's what we have to say. Because in your assignments, you will be getting SCSS and SASS. Because we have given you all the introductions about CSS. So SCSS, the studying about SCSS and SASS is not difficult. It's easier. Okay. So you have to try your own what is SCSS and SASS. Right. We'll quickly move into, we have another 2 slides, right? So we'll quickly move into other 2 slides. The next one is Internet Application Development. Introduction to this, right? Okay. So we have 24 slides in there. Any problem up to now in CSS and HTML?
Oh, everything's clear. Thank you.
Right, okay. So network. What is network? Network meaning interconnection or connecting 2 or more devices together. Then we call it as a network. So interconnection of 2 or more devices is called as network. And communication between 2 or more interconnected devices, we call it as networking. Communication between 2 or more interconnected devices. Then internet work is a connection 2 or more networks, that is interwork, right? So you have to clearly identify this definition. What is network? What is called networking? And what is internet work? Then internet working means communication between different networks. And why do we need a network? Mainly to share resources and to communicate. So when you say share resources, you can share your print, you can share your storages and some other services as well. And when you say communicating, you can share your email, you can share a chat, or you can have call. So all these things for communicating. And when you come to a classification, right? The classification, you can classify this network by role or according to the geographic proximity and signaling method. So if you say role, there are two types of it, peer-to-peer and client-server. What is peer-to-peer network? In peer-to-peer network, you can see it provides network services, or you can say connecting every computer. See, peer-to-peer, connecting adjacent nodes together. So that's the meaning of peer-to-peer network. It's providing network services, consumes network services, right? There's a task. What you should do, you have to list down advantages and disadvantages of peer-to-peer network. Okay, and you can share your answers in the forum or the team's account. You can in our chatting forum. Then the client server. What is client server? We have client and we have server, right? We have clients in here. Okay, the clients in the sense all the machines what is connected to the network we called as the client, and there was a server who controlling all the other computers. So this is what we called as client server architecture or client server model. So you can have different types of rules in client server architecture. The client have different operating system and server having a separate operating system. When you come to the, I think someone's mic was on. Then the geographic proximity, according to the geographic proximity, we have LAN and WAN, right? LAN and WAN, basically LAN and WAN. So what is this LAN and what is this WAN? When you say LAN, local area network. Local area network. A network within a small room, a small building, we can call it as a LAN. And when you're connecting LANs together, not only within a same building, not only within the same country, you'll be connecting LANs together, maybe out of the country even. Then it's creating a wide area network. Internet is an example of wide area network. And there are two types of signaling methods, baseband and broadband. What is baseband and what is broadband? See, one signal at a time, right? One signal at a time. Now think about the old telephone lines. When you're using internet, you cannot make calls. When you're making calls, you cannot go for internet. So that is the baseband, right? Previously, we had baseband. One signal at a time. So only one call at a time. But when we come to the broadband, what will happen? You have multiple channels. In broadband, you have multiple channels. See, multiple channels. One for data, one for voice, one for video. So multiple signals you can interchange within the same, like cable TV, or like many channels you can pass. So you have multiple channels in here. Then what are the types of network media available? Bounded and unbounded. What is bounded? Bounded, or you can say guided media. Unbounded, you can say unguided media, or simply you can say bounded, guided, or wired media, right? Guided or wired. unbounded, unwired, or you can say wireless, right? Unbounded, or you can say unguided. So several names. Unguided, right? So all these are named as what? Unbounded. So what are the types of bounded media available? Coaxial cable, then you have twisted pair cable, and you have fiber optic, right? So what is this? This is the coaxial cable. So both cables share the same axis. Where you can see this? You can see this in your telephone antenna. In telephone antenna, what we are using is the coaxial cable and fairly resistant to EMI and resistant to physical damages as well, but somewhat expensive and not supported by fast networking standard. It's maximally on only 10 megabits per second. Yeah. The wires are twisted. Pairs of copper wires twisted together, right? Having copper and crosstalk is there. It's reducing EMI because of twisted and flexible, inexpensive, support very high speed. And we can say usually asked not to run near fluorescent light, right? And eavesdropping is there, prone to eavesdropping. That means you can capture what is passing outside. That's the meaning of eavesdropping, right? And we have something called shielded twisted pair and unshielded twisted pair, which means these pairs are shielded. These pairs are shielded. We call as the shielded twisted pair. Now this is unshielded one. It's not shielded separately. So that is unshielded twisted pair, right? When it's shielded, this eavesdropping and EMI are reducing. So what are the types of twisted pair available? These are the shielded one and unshielded one. Okay, shielded and shielded twisted pairs are separately given. And what are the categories available? Cat 33, Cat 5, then Cat 5e, Cat 6, those are the stuff. So Cat 3 is the older type and it's supporting in Mbps. And Cat 5 is supporting widely used, that is widely used, and 100 to 1000 Mbps. And Cat 5e enhanced Cat 5 with better crosstalk protection. So up to 10,000 megabits per second. So it's enhancing the Cat 5 type. Especially for fiber, FBB, the fibers one, so Cat 16. Then the next one is fiber optic cabling. Now, when you come to the twisted pair and when you come to the coaxial cable, answering what? Electrons. But when you come to the fiber optic cable, it transmits lights. So when it's transmit light means it's faster. So it's representing data in binary with light on and off. So special light sensitive devices turns light signals to digital electrical signals. So it's completely impervious from EMI and cannot do eavesdropping, very high data rates for long distance and expensive and not very flexible. And when you come to the fiber optic types, what are the types available? Single mode and the multi-mode. When you say single mode, you have the single wave, the single mode, used for very long data transmission and thin core, right? There's a thin core and most expensive type. When you say thin core, the diameter is 100 microns in there. When it comes to the multi-mode, the multiple rays at the same time you can transfer. Thick core is there, the diameter is 50 to 100 microns and cannot use for long distance transfers. So when you say types of communication, there are three types: simplex, half duplex, and full duplex. One way, when you are sending the data, we call this as simplex. Only sending either sender to receiver or receiver to sender. So one way of transferring. That's the meaning of simplex. Then the next one is half duplex. That is a two-way communication, but one way at a time. We can say walkie-talkie as the example for half duplex, two-way communication. And the full duplex, two-way, but both sides can communicate at the same time. Internet and the telephone line, those are we called as the full duplex. Half duplex example is walkie-talkie. Then simplex, you can say TV, right? TV and the remote, right? Then the network addressing. So when you say network addressing, there are two types of addresses, physical address and the logical address. Physical address we called as the MAC, and it is burned to hardware itself. By looking at the device or the network interface card, you can identify what is the physical address. So it's a unique address for particular hardware, right? So not only network interface card, for all the devices which are using the network, we have this MAC address. Then the logical address, if you consider, that is what we called as the IP address. So address is assigned based on the protocol what you are using. Network doesn't know logical addresses work with MAC. So applications use logical addresses, and when you're creating the like network and all physically, we are using the MAC address, right? So IP address is the logical address. So you have the subnet mask, you have the class A IP addresses. Now what is telling in here, you have something called IP address types are there. What are the types? Class A, class B, class C, and we have class D and class E. So based on the class type, it's telling how many computers can connect in a network, right? So class A, if you consider, the first octet is network and remaining is telling about the host. So subnet mask, if you consider 255, 0.0.0. So first octet is 0 to 126. So first binary digit is always 0, right? And when you come to the B, first two octets are network and remaining are host. So when you come to the network lessons, network subject, you will be learning more about these things. This is only an introduction. So keep it in mind. When you take an IP address is divided into two sections. That is network address and the host address, right? So network in class A, the first part is network address. Other three parts are remaining the host address. So you can connect lot of computers in here. Then the class B, you have two for network ID and two for host part. Then the class C, you have first three octators for network address and the other one for host, right? So like that remaining, you have network part and the host part in IP addresses. So you can identify 0 to 126 comes to the class A, and 28 to 191 comes with the class B. Then 192 to 223, that is comes to the class C. It's identified from this. See, we are checking what is this number. If it's 128, class B. If it's 192, it's class C. That's the way. When you come to the class D, 224 to 239, that is multi-class input. And if you are doing some experimental, we'll go for class C. Normally what you are using is the class A, B, and C. Then something called switching. Consider a network with 4 computers and a switch. So switch has a MAC table. So connection-oriented services are there. So when you come to the client-server architecture, you have a switch or a hub. All the other computers are connected to the switch or a hub, right? So in switching, it's identified according to the MAC table how to connect with the particular computer. Of connection-oriented services. So these are connection is established. Information is sent. So connection is released. Now what is telling in here? Here is a sequence of operation to be followed by the uses of connection oriented. So how to do it? How we doing the connection? They establish the connection, the information have to be sent, and then you have to release the connection. So what is the example for this protocol? That is a transmission control protocol. So your transmission control protocol is working according to this. First of all, connection is establishing, then information will be sent in, and then connection will be released. According to that only, this communication is happening. Then connectionless services. It is similar to the postal services, as it carries the full address where the message is to be carried. So each message is routed independently from source to destination. So in connectionless, the data is transferred in one direction from source to destination without checking the destination. Is still there or not, or if it prepared to accept the message. For this connectionless services, what is the example? Use a datagram protocol. That means video streaming. When you are doing the video streaming, what you are using is the user datagram protocol. And when you come to the domain names, a domain name, simply we can say a web address. So domain name, it's an identification, a string that defining a realm of administrative autonomy, authority, or control within the internet. So domain names are formed by the rules and according to the procedures. We have something called domain naming system. So domain naming system is giving the web address, and within the network, it's working according to the IP addresses. So domain naming server is supporting to convert the IP addresses into web address and web addresses to IP address. That is the process. Then the internet protocol stack. So for the application, the supporting network application, the FTP, SMTP, and HTTP. When you come to the transport, it's supporting process, data transfer. Now what is explaining? In here, we have something called OSI model and TCP/IP architecture. So when you come to the TCP/IP architecture, we have how many sections? 5 sections. Application area, transport section, network section, link section, and the physical. So physical is on the wire. That is a transfer that is telling about the bits, how we transfer in the bits. And top of the physical, you have a layer called link layer. That is the data transfer between neighboring network elements within the Ethernet or like Wi-Fi, like that. And the third layer is network. That is telling how to route in the datagrams from source to destination, like IP, routing protocols, and all these things. And top of the network, you have the transport layer. Transport layer is telling the process of data transfer. To do that, it's using TCP protocol and UDP protocol. And top of the transport, you have the application layer. That's what we'll see, right? Application. That is supporting network application. So what are the protocols supporting in here? FTP, SMTP, and HTTP. And then previously, what we have used is OSI model. Now this is TCP/IP architecture. And this one is OSI model. So 7 layers of the OSI model. So in here, you have the physical, you have the data link, you have the network, you have the transport, you have the session, you have the presentation, you have the application. So when you come to the physical, you have the physical structure, and it's telling about the wires. So what are the wires we'll be using? What are the network devices we'll be using? So coax, fiber, wireless, hubs, and repeaters, all these things are telling about the physical. Then top of the physical, you have the data link layer. In data link layer, it's telling about the frames, how we transferring the data according to the frames. So what are the things we'll be using? Ethernet, then the switch, bridge, all these comes in data link. So top of the data link, what you have is the network. So network is telling how we transfer in the data packet-wise. So IP, ICMP, IPsec, IGMP, all these things are come with the packets, right? Those are the protocols used in that network layer. And when you come to the transport layer, it's telling about the end-to-end connections, right? How we transfer in the things between the source and the destination. In transport layer, TCP and UDP protocols are using. And top of the transport layer, you have the session layer, right? In the session layer, it's telling about the synchronizing and send to port like that. Now, sometimes you'll be using this session. Sometimes the session is expired, right? The time is expired, like those messages are coming throughout the session layer. So API, sockets, WinSock, those are the things using in the session layer. And then the presentation layer. In the presentation layer, you have the syntax layer. SSL, SSH, IMAP, FTP, MPEG, JPEG, all these things are used. Then top of the presentation, you have the application layer. And user layer is the application layer. End user, what is seen in the application. So what are the protocols used in there? HTTP, FTP, IRC, SSH, and DNS. Right? So that is about the 7 layers of the OSI model. So later on, you'll be learning more about these models. So at this moment, you just get an idea. When you come to the networking, it's working according to OSI model or according to TCP IP model. Okay? Right. Now we have some other presentation also. Few slides are there. I'll quickly do that and stop the class. Right? Just wait for that. The last slide, that is about the cloud computing, right? Most of you are familiar with the cloud computing these days, right? So what is this cloud computing? Cloud computing. What do you mean by actually cloud? Cloud meaning it's simply we can say our data, all these things today, we don't want to save in our computer itself. We don't want a device to store our data today. Where we can store? We can store in our space. That's what we known as cloud. So cloud computing is virtualization based technology that allow us to create, configure, and customize applications via an internet connection. Okay, so cloud can provide services over public and private network. Simply, if I say you an example, Google Drive, it's a cloud device. It's a cloud location. So what is cloud computing actually? Cloud computing refers to manipulating, configuring, and accessing the hardware and software resources remotely. What do you mean by remotely? Remotely meaning you're not directly accessing, you're accessing by using your computer, you are accessing these devices, hardware or software, as well as the resources in a separate machine. So it offers online data storage, infrastructure, and application. Right. So I'll share you the sound.
What's all the buzz about cloud computing? To get started, we need a busy person. Let's call her Sandy. Sandy not only wears awesome cowboy boots, she's the technology partner in a company. Medium size. 18 people in the US. What do? How about accounting, tax service? They need desks, chairs, computers, and also software. They need servers for their database, a backup system. They need a safe room for all these machines, a network that keeps them all connected, and the clients connected to them. And they need an IT employee to install it. But because the company is too small, they don't have their own IT guy. They have to call an external consultant. Once everything is set up, it works. Until they start to use it. 18 people use the system in 18 different ways. So the database turns into data chaos. Once in a while, updates have to be made too. Servers renewed, old data migrated again, and Sandy's company is growing. More and more important data continues to be stored in the office. In one place. Risky. And Sandy, she wants to have her life back again, spending her spare time Western dancing or playing golf. Not worrying about technical stuff. Why not do the same thing as back at home? Her music collection, stored on the web. Movies, she watches them online. Family pictures, she shares them on the net. Her encyclopedias, Wikipedia, and so on. Why shouldn't her business do the same and move to the cloud? Like this. Everything is stored in a safe and secure place, and all she needs to access it is a simple web browser. This is called cloud computing. Put your whole workflow on the internet. And if your business grows, simply add more users to your cloud. Like this. Or remove them again. Finally, Sandy feels free. And her husband likes that as well. Wherever she is, everything is just one click away. Okay, we're working on that one. And that by 20 byte in the digital. Your company shouldn't lag behind. Move. Sandy did.
Right. Okay, so then the next one, before cloud computing, now you will be clear what do you mean by the cloud computing. So before cloud computing, it's displayed something like this. After that, this is the way it will display. So it's easy. You don't want a place even to work with the office, right? So you can store anywhere, any place, and anytime you can get the data as well. So when you come to the advantages, we have data security, right? It's secure. You can give passwords or you can encrypt data. So you can have backup and you can restore data. You can improve the collaboration. You have excellent accessibility and low maintenance costs. Mobility is there. Services in pay-per-use and unlimited storage capacity also. Then what are the types of cloud services available? IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. We'll see what is it. So most cloud computing services fall into three broad categories. Infrastructure as a service. It is computing infrastructure managed over the internet. So that's the meaning of infrastructure as a service. So you can have infrastructure without having your computer, without having all these things in your computer. You can have other services throughout the cloud computing. Then platform as a service. So cloud computing platform is created for the programmer to develop, testing, run, and manage the applications. So maybe some platform, or maybe you don't have some platform to run the application in your machine, but you can have the support of cloud computing. So throughout the cloud computing, you have the platform to test, platform to develop, platform to run even. Today we have online apps. So throughout the online apps, you can work without installing, right? Then software as a service. So it's also known as on-demand software. So it is a software in which the applications are hosted by a cloud service provider. So users can access these applications with the help of internet connection and web browser. That's the meaning of software. So on-demand software. So software in which the applications are hosted by a cloud service provider, right? So easily you can get all the other softwares to work. Now, when you say Word or Excel or PowerPoint in Google Drive, you have the Google Doc, Google PowerPoint, all this stuff, right? So you don't want to install all these things in your machine as well. We'll see the video.
Cloud computing basics. The advancement of technology encompassing networks, storage, and processing power led to epitome of computing. In this century, it's called cloud computing, or commonly referred to as cloud. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is a paradigm that allows on-demand network access to shared computing resources, a model for managing, storing, and processing data online via the Internet. Some cloud computing characteristics include on-demand service, you use it when you need it. Network access, using Internet as a medium. Shared resources, resources are pulled together and use multiple clients. Scalability allows elasticity of resources. 3 delivery models of cloud computing: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Cloud computing offers different services based on 3 delivery models. When arranged in a pyramid form, they follow the order of SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. What is SaaS? SaaS, or Software as a Service. It is a service that offers on-demand pay-per-use of application software to users. Unlike licensed bot program, this service is platform independent, and you don't need to install the software on your PC. The cloud runs a single instance of the software and makes it available for multiple end users. This makes cloud computing cheap. All the computing resources responsible for delivering SaaS are entirely managed by a vendor. This service is accessible via a web browser or lightweight client applications. Who uses SaaS? End customers are frequent users of SaaS. Example products and services of SaaS. Popular SaaS providers offer the following products and services: the Google ecosystem such as Gmail, Google Docs, and Google Drive, Microsoft Office 365, HR and help desk solutions, and customer relationship management services such as Salesforce. Pros: universally accessible from any platform. No need to commute. You can work from any place. Excellent for collaborative working. Vendor provides modest software tools. Allows for multi-tenancy. Cons: portability and browser issues. Internet performance may dictate overall performance. Compliance restrictions. What is PaaS? PaaS, or Platform as a Service. This service is mainly a development environment and is made up of a programming language execution environment, an operating system, a web server, and a database. All of this encapsulate the environment where users can build, compile, and run their programs without worrying of the underlying infrastructure. In this model, you manage data and the application resources. All other resources are managed by the vendor. Who uses PaaS? This is a domain for developers. Example products and services of PaaS. Cloud providers have the following as the PaaS products and services: Amazon Web Services, Elastic Beanstalk, Google App Engine, Windows Azure Heroku, and Force.com. Pros: cost-effective, rapid development. It's scalable. Faster market for developers. Easy deployment of web applications. Private or public deployment is possible. Cons: developers are limited to providers, languages, and tools. Migration issues, such as the risk of vendor lock-in. What is IaaS? IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. This service offers the computing architecture and infrastructure. That is, it offers all computing resources but in a virtual environment so that multiple users can access them. These resources include data storage, virtualization, servers, and networking. Most vendors are responsible for managing the above 4 resources. If you will use this service, you will be responsible for handling other resources such as applications, data, runtime, and middleware. Who uses EAS? EAS is mainly for sysadmins. Example products and services of EAS. They include Amazon EC2, GoGrid, and Rackspace.com. Pros: the cloud provides the infrastructure. Enhanced scalability, dynamic workloads are supported. EAS is flexible. Cons: security issues, network and service delays. Examples of companies that use cloud computing. Amazon's AWS or Amazon Web Services. When it comes to companies using cloud computing, AWS takes the lead. This cloud computing company offers EAS and PaaS services to its customers. It's popular for its Elastic Compute Cloud EC2, among other services such as Elastic Beanstalk, Simple Storage Service S3, and Relational Database Service or RDS. Apart from the complete suite of cloud computing, it offers other cloud-related services including Internet of Things, IoT, cloud security, and mobile services. iCloud. This cloud from Apple is majorly for Apple products. It allows you to back up and store all your multimedia and other documents online. This content is then seamlessly integrated onto all your devices or apps in case you access it from them. Microsoft Azure. This cloud is used and offered by Microsoft. It offers EAS, PaaS, and SaaS for its enterprise software and developer tools. If you have ever used Office 365 products, then you have used SaaS. Google Cloud. The Google Cloud Platform is a universal cloud for Google's vast ecosystem and also for other products such as Microsoft Office. It allows collaboration, storage of data, and also other services offered by its cloud computing suite. IBM Smart Cloud. Using private, public, and hybrid deployment models, IBM Smart Cloud provides a full range of EAS, PaaS, and SaaS cloud computing services to businesses. Using pay-as-you-go model, this cloud generates revenue for IBM.
Right, okay. Right, okay, that is last one. It's saying last slide. It provides a virtual data center to store information and create platform for app development and testing and deployment if you consider. And it providing access to resources such as virtual machine, virtual storage, and etc. And it is used by network architecture and it provides only infrastructure. Then when you say PaaS, it provides virtual platform and tools to create, test, and deploy apps. And it provides runtime environment and deployment tools for applications. And this is used by developers and it's providing infrastructure as well as the platform. And when you compare with the SaaS, it providing web software and apps to complete the business tasks. And it provides software as a service to the end users and it is used by the end users. And SaaS is providing infrastructure as well as the platform. So that is about the cloud computing. And today we have learned HTML, CSS, introduction to network, as well as the cloud computing. And one thing is remaining. I told you before finishing the class, I'll explain you about the, it's not much, only 2 lines, I have to say, right? I'll explain you how to give the field set. So I'll just show you that and finish the class. Right. So as I told you, what you should do, you have to create the form. So within the form, what you should do, you have something called field set, right? You have something called field set, a separate tag. Field set. Then within the field set, you have to give the name. So you have to have something called legend. Legend. So in legend, what is our legend name? In our presentation, you have the legend name. What is the legend name in here? As I remember, it says demographics. See, demographics. So that is the legend name. Demographics. Demographics. Then you close the legend. Then you close the legend. After closing the legend, what you should do? Now you can give your what? Input, type. I'm not giving everything. I'll just tell you only few things. Type. You are giving what? Checkboxes. Radio button. Radio button. Then name equal options. Options. Then valid equal male. I'm giving only this, right? Then male. So after this, what you should do now? The field set is a separate one. So after giving all these things, now what you should do? You have to close the field set. That's it. Then close the form. See, now you know how to give the frames. Now this is the way you are giving field set. So within the field set, you have to give all your checkboxes or all your radio buttons. Now you're clear about the final one, right? Okay, right. Now any problem? Yeah, the closing head tag. Yeah, sometimes like I didn't check that, right? Maybe tags was missing. We just take it, yes. But even though in HTML, that is the thing, in HTML, even though you haven't give the proper way, it will give the same thing. Okay, so we'll stop for today. Any problem up to now? Right, okay, we'll stop for today. So you have the Lab 2 exam based on the HTML and CSS. So you do the practicals, and if you have any problem, you can contact. Right. Okay, good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening.
Right, okay, welcome.
Recording stopped.